The black woman's airport delay exposed the billionaire's fear of losing her. I was furious about the 6-hour flight delay. Absolutely livid. But now, standing in my dream home wearing my engagement ring, I have to admit something crazy. That delay was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because the man sitting next to me at gate C-47 wasn't just any stranger. He was my future. Close your eyes for just a moment. Think about the last time a story made you feel something real. Made your heart race. Made tears fall without permission. Made you remember why being human is so beautifully complicated. That's what we do here at CJ Stories. Whether you're returning or just discovering us, welcome home. This is your safe space for tears, laughter, hope, and everything in between. Today's story will take you somewhere unexpected. It'll make you think. It'll make you feel. And I promise you, you won't see the ending coming. But here's the thing, the magic only works if you stay till the very end. No skipping. No rushing. Just you, me, and a story that might just change how you see the world. If it moves you, let me know you're here, subscribe, like, and share this with someone whose heart needs touching today. Ready? Let's step into today's story. Christine Daniels, 34 years old and running on 3 hours of sleep, stood at gate C-47 in Chicago O'Hare International Airport on November 14, 2024, staring at the departure board like it had personally betrayed her. Delayed. 6 hours. She closed her eyes and took a breath that did absolutely nothing to calm the frustration building in her chest. 6 hours. She had a presentation in Boston tomorrow morning at 9. A client who'd specifically requested her consulting firm. This was supposed to be her biggest contract yet, the one that would finally prove she'd made the right choice leaving corporate America to start her own business 10 months ago. Excuse me, is this seat taken? Christine opened her eyes and glanced at the man gesturing to the empty chair beside her. The terminal was packed, every seat filled with equally frustrated travelers, so she shook her head and moved her laptop bag to make room. All yours, she said, offering a polite smile before turning her attention back to her phone, already composing an email to her client explaining the situation. The man settled into the seat with a kind of quiet confidence that made her peripherally aware of his presence even as she tried to focus. He was tall, she'd noticed that much when he'd walked up. Well dressed in a way that suggested money but not arrogance about it. Dark slacks, a charcoal sweater that probably cost more than her entire carry-on wardrobe, shoes that were definitely Italian leather. She kept typing. Boston flight, he asked after a moment. Christine glanced up. He was looking at her with genuine curiosity, not the aggressive friendliness of someone trying too hard to start a conversation. His eyes were striking, a clear blue-gray that seemed thoughtful. He appeared to be in his late 30s, maybe 37 or 38, with the kind of face that wore stress well, laugh lines around his eyes, dark hair that was professionally cut but slightly mussed like he'd been running his hands through it. Yeah, she said. You too? Unfortunately. He smiled, and it transformed his entire face from handsome to something warmer. Michael Alexander. He extended his hand. Christine hesitated for only a second before shaking it. His grip was firm, warm, the kind of handshake that spoke of countless business meetings. Christine Daniels. Nice to meet you, Christine. Though I wish it were under better circumstances. Michael glanced at the departure board with a rueful expression. 6 hours is going to feel like an eternity in this terminal. Tell me about it. I have a presentation tomorrow morning. This delay is basically a nightmare. What kind of presentation? Christine studied him for a moment, trying to gauge if he was genuinely interested or just making small talk to pass the time. His expression seemed open, patient. She decided genuine. I run a business consulting firm. Small operations, but growing. Tomorrow's meeting could be a major contract. Fashion retail company looking to restructure their supply chain management. That sounds impressive. Michael shifted slightly in his seat to face her more directly. How long have you been running your own firm? 10 months. I left my corporate job last January to start it. She caught herself before launching into the whole story. He was a stranger in an airport. He didn't need her entire professional history. What about you? Boston for business or pleasure? Business. Though at this point I'm reconsidering the whole trip. He pulled out his phone, glanced at it, then slipped it back into his pocket with a slight shake of his head. My assistant has already rescheduled my morning meetings. The afternoon ones are still theoretically possible if this flight actually leaves when they're saying it will. Do you believe them? Not even a little bit. Christine laughed, surprised by her own reaction. There was something disarming about his honesty, the way he said it with such casual resignation. Me neither, she admitted. I've been delayed in this airport 4 times this year. They always say 6 hours. It's never actually 6 hours. Optimist or pessimist on that assessment? Realist. It's either 8 hours or they cancel it entirely. Michael winced. That's a grim prediction. But probably accurate. They fell into a comfortable silence. Christine returned to her email, but found herself less focused than before. She was aware of Michael beside her, the way he pulled out a tablet and started scrolling through what looked like financial reports, the subtle scent of his cologne, something understated and expensive, the way he seemed completely at ease in his own skin. Her phone buzzed. A text from her best friend, Shauna. "How's the airport? Boarding soon?" Christine typed back quickly. "Delayed 6 hours. Sitting next to a very polite stranger who seems equally annoyed about it." Polite stranger? Is he cute? Shauna. That's not a no. Christine glanced at Michael, who was absorbed in whatever he was reading, his brow slightly furrowed in concentration. Fine. Yes. He was attractive. Very attractive, if she was being honest. But that was completely irrelevant to her current situation. "Focus," she texted back. "I need this flight to leave so I can get to Boston. You need to relax. When's the last time you talked to a man who wasn't a client?" Christine closed her messages without responding because Shauna had a point she didn't want to acknowledge. "Bad news?" Michael asked, and Christine realized she'd been frowning at her phone. "Just a friend reminding me I work too much." "Ah? I get that message frequently." He set his tablet down on his lap. "Usually from my sister. She thinks I've forgotten how to have a personal life." "Have you?" The question came out before Christine could stop it, too personal for someone she'd known for all of 15 minutes. But Michael didn't seem offended. He considered it seriously. "Probably," he said. "I got divorced 2 years ago. Since then, it's been easier to just focus on work. Cleaner. Less complicated. I'm sorry. About the divorce. Don't be. It was the right decision for both of us. We wanted different things, different lives. Took us too long to admit it, but we got there eventually." He paused. "What about you? Does your friend have a point about the working too much thing?" Christine thought about her apartment, how she'd barely spent any waking hours there in the past 6 months that weren't spent sleeping. Thought about her calendar, color-coded and packed so tightly there was barely room to breathe. "Completely," she admitted. "But I'm building something. That takes time, focus, sacrifice." "It does," Michael agreed. "Though I've learned the hard way that sacrifice can become a habit. You forget you're allowed to want things outside of work." There was something in his voice, not sadness exactly, but a kind of hard-won wisdom that made Christine wonder what those 2 years since his divorce had actually looked like. The gate agent's voice crackled over the intercom, announcing that the delay was now estimated at 7 hours due to mechanical issues. A collective groan rose from the waiting area. "Called it," Christine muttered. "You're some kind of airport delay prophet," Michael said. "Should I be concerned about your 8-hour prediction?" "Let's hope I'm wrong about that part." Michael stood, stretching slightly. "I'm going to get coffee before I lose my mind. Can I bring you anything?" "My treat, as thanks for the realistic expectations about our departure time." Christine hesitated. She should say no. Should keep this professional, distant, exactly what it was, 2 strangers killing time in an airport. But the truth was, she'd finished her email 20 minutes ago and had nothing else pressing to do for the next 7 hours. And Michael seemed kind. Normal. The kind of person who might make this delay slightly less unbearable. "Coffee would be great," she said. "Black, 1 sugar." "Perfect. Don't let anyone take my seat." He walked toward the coffee shop with an easy, confident stride. Christine watched him go, then immediately pulled out her phone. "Okay, you were right," she texted Shauna. "He's cute. And nice. And we're trapped in an airport for 7 hours. Christine Daniels. This is fate. This is a flight delay. Same thing. Talk to him. Flirt a little. Remember how to be a human person." Christine shook her head, smiling despite herself. Shauna made everything sound so simple. Michael returned a few minutes later with 2 coffees and a small bag. "I got us some of those overpriced airport cookies too. Figured if we're going to be here until midnight, we might as well have snacks." "Midnight? I'm being optimistic." Christine accepted the coffee and a cookie, surprised by the thoughtfulness. "Thank you. You didn't have to do this." "I know. But airport delays are less miserable with good coffee and someone to talk to." He settled back into his seat. "So, Christine Daniels, business consultant and airport prophet. Tell me something interesting about yourself that has nothing to do with work." She laughed. "That's a harder question than you'd think." "I know. That's why I asked it." Christine sipped her coffee, considering. What did she even do anymore that wasn't work-related? She used to paint, years ago. Used to love live music, spent weekends exploring new restaurants, had hobbies and interests and a life that extended beyond client meetings and quarterly projections. I used to paint, she said finally. Acrylics, mostly. Abstract stuff. I haven't picked up a brush in probably 2 years, but I used to love it. Why did you stop? Time. Energy. Started the business and everything else just fell away. She met his eyes. What about you? What did you used to do before work consumed everything? I played piano. Not professionally or anything, just for myself. Had a beautiful grand piano in my old house. He paused. My ex-wife got it in the divorce. Haven't played since. That's sad. It is, Michael agreed. But honest. I think we give up the things that matter when we're not paying attention. Tell ourselves it's temporary, that we'll get back to it eventually. Then one day you realize it's been 2 years and you can't remember the last time you did something just because it made you happy. Christine felt that observation settle somewhere deep in her chest. He was right. Completely, devastatingly right. So what do we do about it? She asked. Michael smiled. Well, we're stuck in this airport for the foreseeable future. Maybe we start by actually talking to each other instead of staring at our phones and pretending to work. You think that's going to solve our workaholic tendencies? No. But it might make the next 7 hours more interesting. Christine found herself smiling back. Okay. Deal. But I get to ask the next question. Fair enough. She thought for a moment, then decided to go with genuine curiosity. What kind of business are you in? You mentioned meetings in Boston, but not what kind. I run a tech company. We develop AI software for healthcare systems. Predictive diagnostics, patient data management, that kind of thing. Started it about 9 years ago, just me and my best friend from college working out of my apartment. Now we have offices in 4 cities and about 300 employees. Christine blinked. That wasn't just successful. That was remarkably successful. That's incredible. You must be proud of what you've built. I am. Most days. Michael looked thoughtful. Though success is strange. You spend years fighting for it, sacrificing everything to make it happen. Then you get there and realize you're not sure what you were fighting for anymore. Heavy thoughts for airport coffee. Sorry. Hazard of too much time alone with my own brain. He shifted gears smoothly. Your turn. Tell me about your company. What made you leave corporate to start your own thing? Christine wrapped both hands around her coffee cup, the warmth grounding. My father died last year. August 23, 2023. I was 33. Heart attack, completely unexpected. He was only 61. Christine, I'm so sorry. Thank you. She took a breath. He always told me life was too short to spend it making other people rich. Said if I had ideas and talent, I should bet on myself. So after he died, I kept thinking about all the years I'd spent climbing someone else's corporate ladder, making safe choices because they were safe. And I just couldn't do it anymore. Gave my notice, filed the LLC paperwork, and haven't looked back. That takes real courage. Or complete recklessness. Jury's still out. Michael shook his head. It's courage. Trust me. Most people never take the risk. They talk about it, dream about it, but never actually do it. You did. So did you. 9 years ago when I had nothing to lose. You did it with a career, stability, probably a decent salary. That's different. That's braver. Christine felt something warm unfold in her chest, a kind of recognition she hadn't expected. This man, this stranger, understood something fundamental about the risk she'd taken. Saw it clearly in a way most people didn't. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. Why are you sitting here talking to me? I mean really. You're clearly successful, probably have 1,000 things you could be doing with your time. Why spend your airport delay making conversation with a random woman at your gate? Michael was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. When he spoke, his voice was honest in a way that felt almost vulnerable. Because when you're successful and divorced and 37 years old, you realize you've spent so much time building things that you've forgotten how to just be with people. Real conversations, genuine connection, that's rare. And when I sat down next to you, you seemed like someone worth talking to. So I took a chance. Christine's heart did something complicated in her chest. I'm glad you did. Me too. The gate agent announced another update. The delay was now 8 hours. Christine and Michael looked at each other and started laughing. You really are a prophet, Michael said. I wish I weren't right about these things. Well, since we're going to be here until tomorrow morning apparently, want to get out of this gate area? There's a decent restaurant on Concourse B. We could get actual food, maybe a glass of wine, make this delay slightly less painful. Christine knew she should be cautious. Knew that accepting felt like crossing some invisible line from polite strangers to something else. But she was tired of being cautious. Tired of every decision being calculated and safe. "That sounds perfect," she said. Michael's smile was genuine, reaching all the way to his eyes. He stood and offered his hand to help her up. Christine took it, feeling the warmth of his palm against hers, and wondered if maybe Shauna had been right. Maybe this delay was exactly what she needed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more emotional and heart-touching stories that speak to the soul, and share your thoughts in the comments to tell us which story you want to hear next. Now let us continue. 2 hours later, Christine sat across from Michael at a small table in the back corner of an Italian restaurant on Concourse B, a half-empty glass of Pinot Noir in front of her, and realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd enjoyed herself this much. They'd talked about everything. His company's latest project developing diagnostic tools for rural hospitals. Her strategy for scaling her consulting business without losing the personalized service that made clients choose her in the first place. The best pizza in Chicago, a debate that had gotten surprisingly heated. Books they'd read, places they wanted to travel, the strange isolation that came with running your own company. "Okay, but you have to admit," Michael said, leaning forward with that smile that made her stomach flip, "deep dish is not pizza. It's a casserole with delusions of grandeur." "That's fighting words in this city," Christine said, laughing. "People have been banned from Chicago for less. I stand by my statement. New York thin crust or nothing." "Of course you'd say that. Let me guess, you grew up in Manhattan?" "Connecticut actually. But close enough." He took a sip of his wine. "Westport. Very suburban, very preppy, very boring." "I grew up on the South Side," Christine said. "Chatham neighborhood. My parents bought their house there in 1992, raised me and my 2 brothers in the same 3-bedroom bungalow. My mom still lives there." "Does she give you grief about leaving Chicago for your business trips?" "Every single time. She thinks I work too hard, don't eat enough, and need to settle down with a nice man and give her grandbabies." Christine caught herself, feeling her cheeks warm. "Sorry. That probably sounded like I was implying something." "I wasn't." Michael's expression was amused, kind. "No apology needed. My sister gives me the same speech, just swap grandbabies for nieces and nephews. She has 3 kids and thinks I'm wasting my life being single." "Are you? Wasting your life, I mean." "I don't think so. But I'm also starting to realize that being content and being happy might be 2 different things." He traced the rim of his wine glass thoughtfully. "After my divorce, I told myself I just needed time. Space to figure out who I was outside of that relationship. But 2 years is a long time to use healing as an excuse not to try again." Christine understood that more than she wanted to admit. Since her father's death 16 months ago, she'd thrown herself into work with an intensity that left no room for anything else. Told herself she was honoring his memory by building something meaningful. But maybe she'd also been hiding. "My mom keeps trying to set me up," she said. "Friends' sons, men from church, her hairdresser's nephew. It's relentless." "Have you gone on any of the setups?" "2. Both disasters." Christine smiled at the memory. The first one spent the entire dinner talking about his fantasy football league. The second one asked if I could introduce him to my mom because he thought she was attractive. Michael nearly choked on his wine. He did not. He absolutely did. My mom thought it was hilarious. I wanted to disappear into the floor. That might be the worst date story I've ever heard. "What about you? Any disasters in the past 2 years?" Michael considered. "I went on a few dates about 6 months after the divorce was finalized. Nothing terrible, but nothing that felt right either. Everyone seemed nice enough, but there was no connection. Just 2 people sitting across from each other making polite conversation and counting down the minutes until it was acceptable to leave. That's depressing." It really was. So I stopped trying. Figured if it was meant to happen, it would happen naturally. He met her eyes, and something shifted in the air between them. I wasn't expecting an airport delay to be the natural way it happened. Christine's heart kicked against her ribs. "Is that what this is? Something happening?" "I don't know yet," Michael said honestly. "But I'd like to find out. If you're interested." She should be careful. Should protect herself, keep this light and casual. But sitting across from him, seeing the genuine interest in his eyes, the way he'd listened to every word she'd said for the past 2 hours like she was the most fascinating person in the world, careful felt impossible. "I'm interested," she said quietly. Michael's smile was slow, warm, transforming his entire face. "Good. That's really good." The server appeared to clear their plates and offer dessert menus. Michael glanced at his watch. "It's almost 10. I should probably check on our flight status." Christine pulled out her phone and opened the airline app. Still showing departure at 2:15 a.m. Gate change to C52. Do you actually believe that time? Not even a little bit. But we should probably head back toward the gates anyway. Michael paid the check over Christine's protests that they should split it. Next one's on you, he said, and the casual assumption that there would be a next one made her chest feel light. They walked slowly through the terminal, the crowds thinning as the night deepened. Most of the shops were closed, the restaurants shutting down. O'Hare felt different at this hour, quieter, almost peaceful. Can I ask you something? Michael said as they passed a darkened bookstore. Sure. The painting you mentioned earlier. What did you paint? What did it look like? Christine was surprised by the question, touched that he'd remembered such a small detail from hours ago. Abstract mostly. Lots of color, texture, movement. I liked creating something that didn't have to represent anything specific. Just emotion and energy on canvas. Do you miss it? I didn't think I did. But talking about it now, yeah. I really do. They reached gate C52, which was significantly less crowded than C47 had been. Michael found 2 seats near the window overlooking the tarmac. A plane was being de-iced, the spray creating halos in the artificial light. Christine settled into her seat, suddenly aware of how tired she was. It was nearly 10:30, and she'd been awake since 5 that morning for a client call. You should sleep, Michael said gently. We've got hours still. I'll wake you if anything changes with the flight. I don't want to be rude. You wouldn't be. You're exhausted. I can see it. Christine hesitated, then gave in. The truth was, she was exhausted. Okay. But wake me if you need anything, or if you want company. I will. I promise. She closed her eyes, intending to rest them for just a few minutes. The seat was uncomfortable, the terminal too bright, but she was more tired than she'd realized. Within minutes, she felt herself drifting. Christine woke to someone gently touching her shoulder. She blinked, disoriented, and found Michael looking at her with soft concern. Sorry to wake you, but you were going to fall out of your chair, he said quietly. She straightened, realizing she'd been listing heavily to one side. What time is it? 11:45. They pushed the flight again. Now showing 3:30 a.m. departure. Christine groaned. Of course they did. There's actually a small business lounge that's still open on Concourse A. I have a membership. It's quieter, has actual comfortable chairs, better coffee. Want to wait there instead of these torture devices they call seats. The thought of a comfortable chair sounded like heaven. Are you sure? I don't want to impose on your membership. Christine, we've been together for almost 7 hours. I think we're past the imposing stage. Come on. The lounge was a revelation. Quiet, dimly lit, with leather chairs that actually supported the human body. There were only a handful of other travelers, most of them absorbed in laptops or sleeping. Michael led her to a pair of chairs in the corner with a small table between them. This is so much better, Christine said, sinking into the chair with a sigh of relief. Right? I practically live in these lounges when I travel. Michael grabbed them both bottles of water from the refreshment area. More comfortable than my actual office sometimes. Christine accepted the water gratefully. How often do you travel for work? Too often. Probably twice a month on average. Boston, San Francisco, our Seattle office. Sometimes London or Berlin for the international side of the business. That sounds exhausting. It is. But it's also part of the job. Can't build relationships with clients and partners through video calls alone. He paused. What about you? Is this trip typical? I'm traveling more than I used to. Maybe once a month now. It's growing though. If I land this Boston contract, it'll probably increase to twice a month like yours. Do you want that? The travel, the expansion, all of it. Christine thought about it honestly. I want the success. Want to prove I can build something sustainable and meaningful. But the travel, the constant motion, I'm not sure yet. Ask me in a year. Fair enough. Michael settled back in his chair, looking at her with that thoughtful expression she was beginning to recognize. Can I tell you something? Of course. I've really enjoyed tonight. This whole ridiculous delay, every minute of it. I know that probably sounds strange, but it's true. Christine felt warmth bloom in her chest. It doesn't sound strange. I've enjoyed it too. More than I've enjoyed anything in a long time, if I'm being honest. When we get to Boston, assuming we ever actually get to Boston, can I take you to dinner? A real dinner, not airport food. I'd like that. Though I should warn you, my schedule is pretty packed. The presentation's at 9, then I have 2 follow-up meetings in the afternoon. What about tomorrow night? Or I guess technically tonight since it's after midnight now. Christine pulled out her phone and checked her calendar. She had planned to fly back to Chicago tomorrow evening, but she could change it. Should change it, actually, because the thought of saying goodbye to Michael after one dinner felt wrong. Tomorrow night works, she said. I can change my return flight to Friday morning. Michael's smile was bright enough to light the dim lounge. Perfect. I know a place in the North End. Best Italian food outside of Italy. I'll make a reservation. You don't have to go to that much trouble. It's not trouble. It's something I want to do. They fell into comfortable silence. Christine found herself studying him, the way the low light softened his features, the slight stubble along his jaw that suggested he'd been traveling all day before the delay, the genuine warmth in his eyes when he looked at her. What are you thinking? Michael asked softly. That this is unexpected. All of it. Good unexpected or bad unexpected? Good. Definitely good. Christine hesitated, then decided to be brave. I don't usually do this. Meet someone and just connect like this. It feels fast. It does, Michael agreed. But sometimes fast is right. My best friend, the one I started my company with, we met at a conference and by the end of the night we'd sketched out our entire business plan on cocktail napkins. Sometimes you just know. Is that what this is? You just knowing? I don't know what this is yet, he said honestly. But I know I want to find out. I know that I haven't felt this interested in getting to know someone in years. And I know that when I saw that delay notification, I was furious until I sat down next to you. Then suddenly 6 hours didn't seem like enough time. Christine's breath caught. Michael. Too much? I can pull back if that's too much. No. It's not too much. It's just right. He reached across the small table between them, his hand palm up, an invitation. Christine didn't hesitate. She placed her hand in his, feeling the warmth of his skin, the gentle pressure of his fingers closing around hers. I should probably tell you, Michael said quietly, his thumb brushing across her knuckles, that I'm not good at casual. I tried after my divorce. Went on those dates I mentioned, tried to keep things light and uncomplicated. But it's not who I am. When I care about something, someone, I care completely. So if that's not what you're looking for, tell me now. I'll understand. Christine looked at their joined hands, feeling the weight of what he was offering. Honesty. Vulnerability. The possibility of something real. I'm not good at casual either, she admitted. I'm intense about everything. Work, relationships, life. It's exhausting sometimes, but it's who I am. Then we're matched in that at least. At least. Michael's phone buzzed. He glanced at it with his free hand, his expression shifting to something between amusement and resignation. Flight's delayed again. 4:45 a.m. now. We're never getting to Boston. At this rate, we might as well just rent a car and drive. Christine laughed. That's a 14-hour drive. I'm aware. But at least we'd be moving forward instead of sitting in this airport. You're not serious. Michael looked at her, his expression thoughtful. What if I am? We could leave now, drive through the night, take turns at the wheel. Get there by early afternoon. You'd still make your presentation, I'd make my meetings. That's crazy. Maybe. But it's also an adventure. And honestly, I'm enjoying your company too much to spend the rest of the night sitting in uncomfortable chairs waiting for a flight that keeps getting delayed. Christine should say no. Should be practical, sensible, wait for the flight like a normal person. But looking at Michael, seeing the genuine excitement in his eyes, the invitation to do something completely spontaneous, she found herself wanting to say yes. If we do this, she said slowly, we need ground rules. We split the driving, we split the cost, and if either of us gets too tired, we stop and get a hotel room. 2 hotel rooms, she clarified. Michael grinned. Deal. 2 rooms, equal driving shifts, split everything down the middle. Though I reserve the right to buy you coffee and snacks along the way. That seems fair. So we're doing this? We're actually driving to Boston? Christine thought about her father, about his voice in her head telling her life was too short for safe choices. Thought about the past 16 months of playing it careful, building her business but forgetting to build a life. We're doing this, she said. Michael stood, pulling her gently to her feet. They were standing close now, close enough that Christine could see the flecks of darker blue in his gray eyes, could smell his cologne mixed with coffee and wine. This is either the best decision or the worst decision I've made in years, he said softly. Only one way to find out. They gathered their bags, checked out of the lounge, and walked toward the rental car area with their hands still linked together. The terminal was nearly empty now, just a few travelers sleeping in chairs and cleaning crews working their way through the concourses. At the rental counter, Michael upgraded them to a comfortable SUV with all-wheel drive. November in the Midwest could be unpredictable, and if they were driving through the night, they needed something reliable. As they walked toward the parking garage, their bags rolling behind them, Christine felt something shift inside her chest. Something that felt like possibility, like hope, like the first brushstroke of color on a blank canvas. Ready for this adventure? Michael asked as they reached the vehicle. Christine looked at him, this man she'd met only hours ago who somehow felt like someone she'd known much longer, and smiled. Absolutely ready. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more emotional and heart-touching stories that speak to the soul, and share your thoughts in the comments to tell us which story you want to hear next. Now let us continue. They'd been on the road for 3 hours when Christine's phone rang at 4 in the morning. Michael glanced over from the passenger seat where he'd been dozing, his expression alert despite the early hour. Christine checked the screen and felt her stomach drop. It's my client. The Boston meeting. At 4 a.m.? He's in London right now. Different time zone. She answered, keeping her voice professional. Hello, Mr. Patterson. Good morning. Christine, I'm terribly sorry to do this so early, but I wanted to catch you before your flight. Richard Patterson's British accent was apologetic but firm. We're going to need to reschedule our meeting. My team just informed me there's been a significant development with one of our suppliers that requires immediate attention. We're looking at next month, possibly February. Christine's hands tightened on the steering wheel. February. That was 3 months away. 3 months of uncertainty, of not knowing if this contract would actually materialize. I understand, she said, keeping her disappointment out of her voice. These things happen. When you have a better sense of timing, just let me know and I'll adjust my schedule. You're very gracious. I promise we're still very interested in your services. This is purely a timing issue. They ended the call, and Christine stared at the dark highway stretching ahead of them, processing what had just happened. She'd rearranged her entire week for this meeting. Had been counting on this contract to validate everything she'd sacrificed to start her business. That didn't sound good, Michael said gently. Meetings cancelled. Postponed until next month or possibly February. Christine heard the flatness in her own voice. So we're driving to Boston for nothing. Hey, not for nothing. You didn't know this would happen. I should turn around. Drive back to Chicago. This is ridiculous, we're halfway across Indiana in the middle of the night for a meeting that doesn't exist anymore. Michael was quiet for a moment. Do you want to turn around? Did she? Christine thought about Chicago, her empty apartment, her office that was really just a converted bedroom with a desk and too many filing cabinets. Thought about going back to her regular routine, her carefully scheduled life that suddenly felt suffocating. No, she said finally. I don't want to turn around. But I feel like I should want to. Why? Because it's practical. Because driving to Boston now doesn't make business sense. Because I'm supposed to be focused and disciplined and not the kind of person who drives 14 hours on impulse with someone I just met. But you don't want to be that person right now. It wasn't a question. Christine glanced at him, saw understanding in his expression, not judgment. No. I really don't. Then keep driving. We'll get to Boston, you'll give yourself a day to breathe and not think about work, and then you'll go home when you're ready. Not because you should, but because you want to. Christine felt some of the tension ease from her shoulders. You're very calm about this. I've learned that plans change. The key is deciding whether you're changing with them or fighting against them. He paused. Though I should mention, I also just got an email from my assistant. My afternoon meetings were cancelled too. Apparently there's a nor'easter heading toward Boston. They're expecting it to hit late tomorrow, possibly into Friday. So we're driving into a snowstorm. Potentially. Though the forecast could change. Michael pulled out his phone, checking the weather. Current prediction shows it arriving Friday morning. We'd be fine tomorrow, but flying out might be complicated. Christine laughed, but there was an edge to it. This is absurd. The whole thing. We should both just turn around and go home. We could, Michael agreed. But I have a better idea. What's that? We're about an hour from Cleveland. I know this sounds strange, but there's a diner there that makes the best pancakes I've ever had. We could stop, get breakfast, take a break from driving. Then we decide what we actually want to do, not what we think we should do. The idea of stopping, of not having to make any decisions for the next hour, sounded perfect. Okay. Pancakes and a break. I can do that. Take the next exit. I'll navigate from there. 45 minutes later, they pulled into the parking lot of a 24-hour diner that looked like it hadn't been updated since 1975. The neon sign flickered, Millie's Diner, in faded red letters. Inside, the place was exactly what Christine expected. Vinyl booths, a long counter with spinning stools, checkered floor tiles, and the smell of coffee and bacon thick in the air. A tired-looking waitress with a name tag reading, Donna, gestured them toward a booth. Coffee, she asked, already holding a pot. Please, Christine and Michael said in unison. Donna poured 2 cups and left them with plastic menus. Christine wrapped her hands around the warm mug, feeling the exhaustion of the past 12 hours settling into her bones. You okay? Michael asked. Honestly? I don't know. I feel like I should be more upset about the meeting cancellation. But you're not? Not as much as I expected. Which worries me. Am I not taking my business seriously enough? Am I making bad decisions because I'm tired or because I'm caught up in whatever this is between us? Michael considered her words carefully. Can I offer a different perspective? Please. You've spent 10 months building your business. 10 months of probably working 16-hour days, sacrificing everything else, proving you can make it work. One spontaneous decision doesn't erase that dedication. It just means you're human, and sometimes humans need a break. My father would have told me to push through, stay focused, never let up. Would he? Or would he have told you that life's too short to not take chances when they appear? Christine thought about her father, about the conversations they'd had before he died. About how he'd always encouraged her to work hard but also to live fully, to not wait for someday. You're right, she said quietly. He would have told me to keep driving. Then keep driving. Donna returned to take their order. They both ordered pancakes, eggs, and bacon. When she left, Michael reached across the table and took Christine's hand. I know this is complicated, he said. We barely know each other, we're making impulsive decisions, nothing about this is practical or sensible. But I haven't felt this alive in 2 years. You make me want to do spontaneous things like drive to Boston in the middle of the night. And maybe that's crazy, but it's also the best I've felt since my divorce. Christine turned her hand over, lacing her fingers through his. I feel the same way. Which terrifies me because I don't know how to do this. How to balance wanting to be with you and needing to focus on my business. How to be spontaneous when I've built my entire life around discipline and planning. You don't have to figure it all out right now. We're just 2 people having breakfast in Cleveland at 5 in the morning. That's all this has to be. Is that really all you want it to be? Michael met her eyes, and the intensity there made her breath catch. No. I want a lot more than that. But I'm trying not to overwhelm you. What if I want to be overwhelmed? Then I'd say I'm falling for you, Christine Daniels. Fast and hard and completely against all logic. I'd say that I want to know everything about you. What you look like first thing in the morning, what makes you laugh when you're exhausted, what dreams you have beyond your business. I'd say that I haven't felt this kind of connection with anyone, including my ex-wife, and it's terrifying and exhilarating and I don't want it to end. Christine felt tears prick her eyes. Michael. Too much? No. It's perfect. And I'm falling too. Which is insane because we met 12 hours ago. 13 hours now. That doesn't make it less insane. No, but it makes it true. Their food arrived, and they ate in comfortable silence, the weight of their confession settling between them. Christine felt full of contradictions. Scared but hopeful. Uncertain but sure. Tired but energized. Her phone buzzed with a text from Shauna. Please tell me you're not still at the airport. Christine smiled and typed back. We rented a car. Driving to Boston. The response was immediate. We? As in you, an airport guy? His name is Michael. And yes. Christine. This is either the most romantic thing ever or completely reckless. Possibly both. Definitely both. I need details immediately. Later. Still driving. Christine set her phone down and found Michael watching her with amusement. Your friend? Shauna. She thinks I've lost my mind. Have you? Completely. But I don't want to find it again. They finished breakfast and walked back to the car. The sky was starting to lighten in the east, dawn approaching. Michael took the driver's seat this time, and Christine settled into the passenger side, feeling the pull of exhaustion. Sleep, Michael said gently. We've got about 8 more hours of driving. I'll wake you when we get there or when I need you to take over, whichever comes first. Christine wanted to protest, wanted to stay awake and talk more, but her body had other ideas. She closed her eyes and drifted off to the sound of the highway and Michael's steady breathing beside her. She woke to silence and sunlight. The car was parked, and through the windshield she could see they were at a rest stop somewhere green and hilly. Michael was gone. Christine checked her phone. 10:30 in the morning. She'd slept for almost 5 hours. There was a note tucked into the cup holder in Michael's handwriting. Gone to get real coffee. Back in 5 minutes. You were sleeping so peacefully I didn't want to wake you. She smiled and got out to stretch, her back protesting the hours in the car. They were somewhere in Massachusetts based on the license plates around her. Getting close to Boston. Michael appeared a few minutes later carrying 2 large coffees and a bag from a coffee shop. Good morning. Or I guess good late morning. How'd you sleep? Better than I should have in a car. Christine accepted the coffee gratefully. Where are we? About an hour outside Boston. I figured we'd stop here, stretch our legs, then finish the drive. We should be there by noon. And then what? It was the question they'd both been avoiding. They'd arrived in Boston with no meetings, no obligations, just each other and a nor'easter potentially arriving tomorrow. I have a suggestion, Michael said. But you have to promise not to overthink it. That's asking a lot from me. I know. But try. He took a breath. I have a place in Boston. A condo in Back Bay that I bought a few years ago for when I'm working at our office there. It has 2 bedrooms, it's comfortable, and it's empty. You could stay there instead of a hotel. Separate rooms, no pressure, just a place to rest before you fly home. Christine's immediate instinct was to say no, to maintain boundaries, to keep things from moving too fast. But then she thought about what Michael had said at the diner. About being human, taking chances, not overthinking every decision. Okay, she said. Michael looked surprised. Really? You're sure? I'm sure. But I have a condition. Name it. Tomorrow, before the storm hits, you show me Boston. Real Boston, not tourist spots. Show me your favorite places, the things you love about the city. I want to see it through your eyes. Michael's smile was radiant. Deal. Best tour you've ever had, I promise. They got back in the car and drove the final hour to Boston, the tension from earlier replaced by something lighter, more hopeful. When they crossed into the city limits and Christine saw the skyline, she felt anticipation flutter in her chest. Michael's condo was beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Charles River, modern furnishings that managed to feel warm instead of sterile, art on the walls that actually meant something. The guest room was spacious and comfortable, with its own bathroom and a view of the city. This is incredible, Christine said, standing at the window. I'm glad you like it. Michael set her bag down by the bed. Get settled, take a shower if you want, rest. Then we'll figure out dinner and tomorrow's tour. Michael. Christine turned to face him. Thank you. For all of this. The drive, letting me stay here, being patient with me while I figure out what I want. He crossed the room and took both her hands in his. Christine, I'd drive you anywhere. I'd wait as long as you need. Because what we have, what's happening between us, it's worth it. You're worth it. She stood on her toes and kissed his cheek, letting her lips linger against his skin. You're worth it too. When she pulled back, the look in his eyes made her heart race. Want and restraint and promise all mixed together. I should let you rest, he said, his voice slightly rough. Probably. But neither of them moved, standing close in the golden afternoon light, on the edge of something neither could name but both could feel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more emotional and heart-touching stories that speak to the soul, and share your thoughts in the comments to tell us which story you want to hear next. Now let us continue. Christine woke on Thursday morning to the sound of wind rattling the windows. She checked her phone and saw it was just after 7. The nor'easter had arrived early, bringing with it heavy snow and wind gusts that made the glass shudder in its frames. She'd slept better than she had in months, which felt absurd given the circumstances. She was in Boston in a borrowed condo during a snowstorm with a man she'd known for less than 2 days. By all accounts, she should be anxious, second-guessing every decision that had brought her here. Instead, she felt peaceful. Her phone showed 3 missed calls from her mother and a string of texts from Shauna demanding updates. Christine smiled and sent a quick message to both letting them know she was safe, snowed in, and would call later. She found Michael in the kitchen, standing at the window with a cup of coffee, watching the snow fall over the city. He was wearing dark jeans and a navy sweater, his hair still damp from a shower, and Christine felt her heart do that complicated thing it had been doing since the airport. Good morning, she said. He turned, and his smile was warm enough to chase away the gray morning light. Good morning. Coffee's fresh. How'd you sleep? Really well, actually. Christine poured herself a cup and joined him at the window. Looks like we're not going anywhere today. Definitely not. They're saying 12 to 18 inches with this system. Airports are closed, most businesses shut down. We're officially snowed in. And you're okay with that? Michael looked at her, his expression soft. I'm more than okay with it. Yesterday was one of the best days I've had in years. They'd spent Wednesday exploring Boston exactly as Christine had requested. Michael had taken her to his favorite bookstore in Cambridge, a tiny Italian bakery in the North End where the owner greeted him by name, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum where they'd wandered through rooms filled with art and quiet conversations. They'd walked along the Charles River as the sky turned gray with approaching weather, talking about everything and nothing. He'd kissed her for the first time on the bridge overlooking the water, snowflakes just beginning to fall. It had been gentle, questioning, perfect. Christine had kissed him back and felt something slot into place inside her chest. Yesterday was pretty perfect, she agreed. I was thinking we could make breakfast together, Michael said. I stocked the kitchen yesterday while you were napping. Eggs, bacon, fresh bread from that bakery. We can cook and watch the storm. That sounds wonderful. They worked side by side in the kitchen, Michael handling the bacon while Christine scrambled eggs and made toast. It felt domestic in a way that should have scared her but didn't. Instead, it felt natural, like they'd been doing this for years instead of hours. Can I ask you something? Michael said as he plated the bacon. Always. What happens when the storm clears? When we can fly home? Christine had been avoiding thinking about that question. I don't know. I mean, we're both in Chicago, so that's something. But beyond that, I'm not sure. I want to keep seeing you. Properly, I mean. Dates, time together, seeing where this goes. He paused, focusing intently on arranging bacon on the plate. But I also know you're building your business, that your focus needs to be there. So I'm not sure how to navigate wanting to be with you and not wanting to be another obligation on your calendar. Christine set down the spatula and turned to face him fully. You wouldn't be an obligation. But you're right that I don't know how to balance this. I've spent 10 months with my entire life being work. I don't know how to make room for something else, someone else, without feeling like I'm failing at both. What if you didn't have to choose? What if we just figured it out as we went? That's not very structured or planned. No, but maybe that's okay. Maybe not everything needs a strategy and a timeline. Michael moved closer, his expression serious. I'm not asking you to have all the answers right now, Christine. I'm just asking if you want to try. I do want to try. I'm just scared I'll mess this up because I don't know how to not be completely consumed by work. Then we'll figure that out together. I'll remind you to take breaks, you'll remind me when I'm working too late. We'll both be imperfect at it and that'll be fine. Christine felt tears prick her eyes. You make it sound so simple. It can be simple. We're just making it complicated because we're both overthinking it. I'm really good at overthinking. Eva noticed. Michael smiled and brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. But I'm also noticing you're good at taking chances when it matters. You left your corporate job, started your own company, drove to Boston with a stranger, kissed me on a bridge in a snowstorm. You're braver than you give yourself credit for. They ate breakfast at the kitchen island, watching the snow accumulate on the streets below. The city was shutting down, everything going quiet and white. Christine's phone rang. Her mother. She answered with slight trepidation. Mama, I'm fine. I promise. Christine Marie Daniels, you've been in Boston for 2 days and I'm just now hearing from you properly? What's going on? It's a long story. My meeting got cancelled, there's a snowstorm, I'm staying with a friend until I can fly home. A friend? What friend? You don't have friends in Boston. Christine glanced at Michael, who was clearly trying not to smile. I made a friend. It's complicated. Is this friend a man? Mama. That's not a no. Christine, baby, talk to me. Are you okay? Are you safe? I'm completely safe. I'm in a beautiful condo with plenty of food and heat and everything I need. The friend is very kind and respectful and treating me well. There was a pause. He's there right now, isn't he? You're talking about him like he can hear you. He can definitely hear me. Put him on the phone. Absolutely not. Christine. Michael held out his hand for the phone, his expression amused. Christine shook her head, but he wiggled his fingers insistently. Against her better judgment, she handed it over. Hello, Mrs. Daniels. My name is Michael Alexander. Your daughter is safe and well cared for, I promise you. He listened for a moment, his expression growing more serious. Yes, ma'am. I understand completely. You have my word that I'll make sure she gets home safely as soon as the airports reopen. Another pause. I'm 37, I run a technology company, and I have nothing but the deepest respect for your daughter. He smiled. Yes, ma'am. I will. Here she is. He handed the phone back to Christine, who took it with a mixture of horror and amusement. Mama, I cannot believe you just interrogated him. I like him. He sounds respectful. Bring him to dinner when you get home. We've known each other for 2 days. And you're snowed in together in Boston. Sounds serious to me. Bring him to dinner. Sunday, 6 o'clock. Don't be late. Her mother hung up before Christine could protest further. She looked at Michael, who was trying very hard not to laugh. I'm so sorry about that. Don't be. She loves you and wants to make sure you're safe. That's exactly what she should do. He paused. Though I should mention, we've now been invited to Sunday dinner. That feels significant. You don't have to come. I can make an excuse. Are you kidding? I'd love to come. I want to meet the woman who raised you, hear embarrassing childhood stories, see where you grew up. Christine felt warmth spread through her chest. You're serious. Completely serious. Unless you don't want me there. I want you there. I just don't want you to feel obligated. Christine, I want to be part of your life. The real parts, not just the easy parts. That includes family dinners and meeting your mom and probably being interrogated more thoroughly in person. They spent the rest of the morning reading, talking, watching old movies on the couch with blankets and hot chocolate. The storm intensified outside, but inside Michael's condo felt like its own world, warm and safe and separate from everything else. Around 2 in the afternoon, Christine's phone rang again. This time it was Richard Patterson, her client. Christine, I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. Not at all, Mr. Patterson. What can I do for you? I wanted to follow up on our conversation from yesterday. I've been thinking about the postponement, and I'm concerned it sends the wrong message about our level of interest in your services. Christine's pulse quickened. I appreciate you saying that. I'd like to propose something different. Rather than waiting until February, what if we started with a smaller consulting project now? Something you could work on remotely over the next 6 weeks. It would give us a chance to see how we work together, and if it goes well, we move forward with the larger contract in the new year. It was a good offer. A smart offer. Exactly the kind of compromise that would keep the relationship moving forward while giving both parties a trial period. That sounds very reasonable, Christine said. What kind of timeline are you thinking for starting? Ideally next week. I know that's quick, but if you're available, we'd like to move on this. Next week. That meant she'd need to be completely focused, developing proposals, doing research, probably working 12 to 14-hour days to make a strong first impression. She looked at Michael, who was watching her with patient attention, and felt something twist in her chest. They just talked about finding balance, about making room for both work and this relationship. And here was the test, arriving less than 6 hours later. Can I have until tomorrow to review my schedule and get back to you with a definitive answer? Christine asked. Of course. Take the time you need. I'll wait to hear from you. They ended the call, and Christine sat in silence, staring at her phone. Good news? Michael asked gently. Yes. Maybe. He wants to start with a smaller project, 6-week timeline, starting next week if I'm available. That's great. That's exactly the kind of opportunity you've been working for. It is. But it also means the next 6 weeks will be intense. Long hours, complete focus, not much time for anything else. Understanding crossed Michael's face. Not much time for us, you mean? I don't want to choose between my business and you. But I also can't mess up this opportunity. It's too important. Michael moved to sit beside her on the couch, taking her hand. Then don't choose. Take the project, do brilliant work, prove why they should hire you for the bigger contract. I'll still be here. But what about balance? What about making time for this relationship? We'll figure it out. Maybe we can't see each other as much over the next 6 weeks, but we can still talk, still text, still make time when you have it. This doesn't have to be all or nothing. Christine felt tears threaten. What if I get so buried in work that I forget to make time? What if I'm terrible at this and you get tired of waiting? Then I'll remind you. And I won't get tired of waiting because you're worth waiting for. Michael cupped her face gently. Christine, I'm not going anywhere. Take the project. Build your business. I'll be right here cheering you on. How are you so understanding about this? Because I've been where you are. I know what it takes to build something from nothing. And I know that the right person will support that, not compete with it. Christine kissed him then, pouring everything she couldn't say into the contact. Gratitude and fear and hope and affection all tangled together. Michael kissed her back with gentle intensity, his hands in her hair, and for a moment everything else fell away. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing harder, Christine rested her forehead against his. I'm going to take the project, she said quietly. Good. You absolutely should. And I'm going to be terrible at balancing everything at first. Probably. But we'll figure it out. And you're really coming to dinner at my mom's on Sunday? Wouldn't miss it for anything. Christine pulled back to look at him properly. I'm falling in love with you, Michael Alexander. It's terrifying and fast and nothing about it makes logical sense, but it's true. Michael's smile was brilliant, transforming his entire face. I'm falling in love with you too, Christine Daniels. Have been since you predicted that 8-hour delay with such perfect accuracy. That's a very specific moment to fall in love. I'm a very specific person. They spent the rest of the afternoon tangled together on the couch, watching the storm rage outside while inside everything felt settled and right. Christine called Richard Patterson back and accepted the project, feeling Michael's steady presence beside her as she negotiated timeline and deliverables. When she hung up, Michael pulled her close and kissed the top of her head. I'm proud of you, he said simply. And Christine realized that she was proud of herself too. For taking the risk to start her business, for driving to Boston on impulse, for letting herself fall for someone even when the timing wasn't perfect. Her father had been right. Life was too short to play it safe all the time. Sometimes you had to take the chance and trust that everything else would work itself out. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more emotional and heart-touching stories that speak to the soul, and share your thoughts in the comments to tell us which story you want to hear next. Now let us continue. 4 months later, in early April 2025, Christine sat in her office reviewing the final presentation for Richard Patterson's company. The 6-week project had expanded into a full contract, exactly as she'd hoped. Her consulting business had grown beyond anything she'd imagined when she'd started it 15 months ago. She now had 3 major clients, 2 part-time employees, and a waiting list of companies wanting to work with her. And through it all, Michael had been exactly what he'd promised to be. Patient, supportive, present in the ways that mattered. They'd found their rhythm over the past 4 months. Dinners twice a week when they were both in Chicago. Phone calls every night, even when Michael was traveling. Weekends spent together, sometimes working side by side in comfortable silence, sometimes exploring the city they both called home. Her mother adored him. That first Sunday dinner had turned into a regular occurrence, Michael fitting into her family with an ease that made Christine's heart ache in the best way. He charmed her mom with his genuine interest in family stories and his willingness to help with dishes. Her brothers had grilled him about his business and come away impressed and approving. Christine's phone rang. Michael's name appeared on the screen, and she smiled automatically. "Hey, you. How's Seattle? Rainy. Boring. I miss you." His voice was warm through the phone. "How's the Patterson presentation looking?" "Good. Really good, actually. I think they're going to be thrilled with the recommendations." "Of course they will be. You're brilliant at what you do." She could hear the pride in his voice. "When's the presentation?" "Tomorrow at 2. Then I'm flying home tomorrow night. I should be back in Chicago by 10. "Perfect. I land at 8:30. Want me to pick you up from the airport?" Christine felt warmth bloom in her chest. For months, and the thought of seeing him still made her feel like a teenager with a crush. "I'd love that. It's a date. I'll text you when I land." He paused. "Christine, there's actually something I want to talk to you about. Something important. But I want to do it in person, not over the phone." Her stomach flipped, part nervousness, part anticipation. Should I be worried? No. Definitely not worried. Just, trust me? I'll explain everything tomorrow night. Okay. I trust you. I love you. I love you too. They hung up, and Christine sat staring at her phone, wondering what Michael wanted to talk about. In 4 months, they'd said I love you, spent countless hours together, met each other's families. But they hadn't talked about the future in concrete terms. Hadn't discussed where this relationship was ultimately heading. Maybe that's what tomorrow was about. The thought should have scared her, but instead, it filled her with hope. The next day, Christine's presentation went even better than she'd anticipated. Richard Patterson and his team loved her recommendations, approved the implementation plan, and signed a contract extension that would keep her working with them through the end of the year. She called Michael from the taxi to the airport, barely able to contain her excitement. They loved it. Every single recommendation. And they extended the contract through December. "Christine, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you." She could hear the genuine joy in his voice. "This calls for a celebration. Let me take you to dinner this weekend. Somewhere fancy, somewhere worthy of this achievement." "You don't have to do that. I want to. Let me celebrate you properly." "Okay. Yes. That sounds perfect." Her flight home was smooth, landing right on time. Christine collected her bag and headed toward arrivals, scanning the crowd for Michael. She spotted him near the exit, and her heart did that familiar leap it always did when she saw him. He was holding flowers. A beautiful bouquet of pink and white peonies, her favorites. She'd mentioned once, months ago, that her father used to bring her mother peonies every anniversary. Michael had remembered. "Hi," she said, suddenly feeling shy despite 4 months of knowing this man. "Yusuf." Michael handed her the flowers and pulled her into a hug that felt like coming home. "Congratulations on the contract extension. You're amazing." "Thank you. And thank you for these. They're beautiful." They walked to his car, Michael carrying her bag, his free hand laced with hers. The April night was mild, the first real hints of spring in the air after a long Chicago winter. "So where are we going?" Christine asked as they pulled out of the airport parking structure. "That depends. Are you hungry now or can you wait a bit?" "I can wait." "Why?" Michael glanced at her, and there was something in his expression that made her pulse quicken. Nervous energy mixed with excitement. "Because I want to show you something first. If that's okay." "Of course it's okay. Where are we going?" "You'll see." They drove through the city, heading north toward the lakefront. Christine recognized the neighborhood as they got closer. Lincoln Park, one of the most beautiful areas of Chicago, tree-lined streets and elegant brownstones. Michael pulled up in front of a stunning graystone building, 3 stories with bay windows and original architectural details. He turned off the car and sat for a moment, his hands still on the steering wheel. "Okay, before we go in, I need to explain something," he said. "You're making me nervous." "Don't be nervous. Just, let me say this." He turned to face her fully. "These past 4 months with you have been the happiest I've been in years. Maybe ever. You've reminded me what it feels like to have a partner, someone who challenges me and supports me and makes me want to be better. Someone who gets what it takes to build something and doesn't resent the work it requires. Michael, I feel the same way. I know. I can see it, feel it every time we're together. And that's why I did something that might seem impulsive, but I promise I thought it through." He took a breath. "I bought this building 3 weeks ago." Christine blinked. "You bought this building?" "I bought this building. It's a graystone, 3 units. The first floor is a commercial space that's been empty for a year. The second and third floors are residential." "I don't understand. You already have a place in Chicago." "Ido. A condo downtown that I've lived in since my divorce. It's fine, functional, but it's never felt like home. This place, the moment I walked through it, I could see a different life. A real life." He reached over and took her hand. "Come inside. Let me show you." They got out of the car and Michael unlocked the front door, leading her into a beautiful entry with original tile work and a staircase with carved banisters. He took her to the first floor, opening the door to a large, open space with high ceilings, exposed brick, and huge windows facing the street. "This space," Michael said, gesturing around the empty room, "could be anything. But I keep thinking it would make an incredible office. Room for multiple desks, a conference table, space to grow. It's zoned for commercial use." Understanding began to dawn. "Michael, this is too much. Wait. Just wait. Let me show you the rest." He led her upstairs to the second floor, which was a completely renovated apartment. Open concept living and kitchen, 2 bedrooms, beautiful hardwood floors, modern fixtures that somehow complemented the historic details. This floor could be rented out for income. Or it could be office space too. Whatever makes sense. Then he took her to the third floor, and Christine felt her breath catch. It was stunning. A full-floor apartment with soaring ceilings, original moldings, a fireplace, chef's kitchen, master suite with a bathroom that looked like something from a magazine. And at the back, a room with northern light flooding through large windows. An artist's dream space. "This room," Michael said quietly, standing in the doorway of that light-filled space, "I thought could be a studio. For painting. If someone wanted to start painting again." Christine turned to look at him, tears already forming in her eyes. "Michael, what are you saying?" He crossed the room and took both her hands in his. "I'm saying I love you. I'm saying these 4 months have shown me exactly what I want my life to look like, and it looks like you. I'm saying I bought this building because I can see us building a life here together. Your office on the first floor, my home office in one of the bedrooms, the studio for your painting, space for both of us to work and live and grow. We've only been together 4 months. I know. And if this is too fast, if you need more time, I understand completely. The building isn't going anywhere. I can wait as long as you need." He paused, his thumbs brushing across her knuckles. "But I also know what I want, Christine. I want you. I want us. I want to wake up next to you every morning and hear about your day every night. I want to support your business and celebrate your successes and be there when things are hard. I want Sunday dinners with your family and spontaneous road trips and lazy mornings drinking coffee and reading the paper. I want everything, with you." Christine felt tears streaming down her face. "This is the most romantic thing anyone has ever done for me. Is that a yes?" "I haven't heard a question yet." Michael smiled, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a stunning ring, a deep blue sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. "This was my grandmother's ring. She gave it to me 2 years ago and told me to save it for someone who made me believe in love again." He got down on one knee right there in the empty studio, holding the ring up to her. "Christine Daniels, will you marry me? Will you build a life with me in this house, in this city, starting right now and lasting forever?" Christine was crying fully now, but she didn't care. "Yes. Yes, absolutely yes." Michael stood and slid the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly. Then he was kissing her, and she was kissing him back, and everything else fell away except this moment, this man, this love that had started with a delayed flight and turned into everything she'd never known she wanted. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless and smiling, Christine looked around the studio again. "You really bought this whole building?" I really did. Though I should clarify, I'm not expecting you to move in immediately. We can take our time, do this at whatever pace feels right. The building is just a possibility, a vision of what our future could look like. When did you buy it? 3 weeks ago. I've been working with contractors to finish the renovations, trying to get it ready to show you. He looked almost nervous. I know it's a lot. If it's too much, we can slow down. Christine thought about the past 4 months. How Michael had supported her through the intensive 6-week project, never once complaining when she had to cancel plans or work late. How he'd fit seamlessly into her family, her life, her world. How he'd remembered peonies and Sunday dinners and that she used to paint. How he'd bought a building with a studio facing north because he wanted her to rediscover that part of herself. It's not too much, she said firmly. It's perfect. You're perfect. This whole thing is perfect. So you'll really marry me? Build a life here. I'll really marry you. Though I do have one condition. Name it. The first floor office space. I want to share it. Your company could use a Chicago office for when you're working here, and my business needs room to grow. We build it together, make it work for both of us. Michael's smile was radiant. Partners in business and life? Exactly. Equal partnership, all of it. He kissed her again, softer this time, full of promise. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. They spent the next hour exploring the building, making plans, imagining their future in these rooms. Christine could see it all so clearly. Her office downstairs with space for her growing team. Michael working from home when he was in Chicago. Sunday dinners with her family in the beautiful dining room. Lazy Saturday mornings in that huge kitchen. And the studio, that perfect light-filled room where she could finally start painting again. When do you want to get married? Michael asked as they sat on the floor of the empty living room, Christine leaning back against his chest. I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead yet. This all happened about 20 minutes ago. Fair point. Though I should warn you, my sister is going to want to start planning immediately. She's been waiting for me to find someone for 2 years. My mom is going to lose her mind. In the best way. She's been hinting about grandchildren since our second Sunday dinner. Grandchildren, huh? Michael's arms tightened around her. How do you feel about that possibility? Eventually, I mean. No pressure. Christine thought about it, really thought about it. A year ago, she would have said her business was her only priority, that she didn't have room in her life for a relationship, let alone marriage and children. But Michael had shown her that she didn't have to choose. That the right partner expanded her life instead of limiting it. Eventually, I think I'd like that, she said. 2 kids maybe. A few years from now, once the business is more established and we've had some time just the 2 of us. That sounds perfect. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the light fade outside the windows. Christine looked down at her ring, the sapphire catching the last rays of sunset. I can't believe this is my life, she said quietly. A year ago I was just starting my business, completely alone, terrified I'd made a huge mistake leaving my corporate job. And now I have a thriving company, and I'm engaged to the most wonderful man I've ever met, and we're sitting in our future home making plans for our life together. Your father would be proud of you. Of everything you've built. He would have loved you. Would have appreciated how you support my ambitions instead of feeling threatened by them. I could never feel threatened by your success, Christine. Your drive, your intelligence, your determination, those are all part of why I fell in love with you. Christine turned in his arms to face him properly. I love you so much, Michael Alexander. Thank you for being patient with me while I figured out how to balance everything. Thank you for buying a building with a studio because you remembered I used to paint. Thank you for seeing a future with me and having the courage to make it real. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for taking a chance on us when it would have been easier to stay focused on work. Thank you for being exactly who you are. They kissed again, sealing promises and possibilities into that contact. When they finally stood to leave, Christine took one last look at the studio, already imagining canvases and paint and color filling that empty space. Can we come back tomorrow? She asked. I want to start planning how to set everything up. We can come back whenever you want. It's our home now. Our home. The words settled warm and right in Christine's chest. They drove to her mother's house to share the news, and the joy and tears and celebration that followed felt like the perfect ending to a story that had started with a delayed flight and a conversation at Gate C-47. 6 months later, on a perfect October afternoon in 2025, Christine and Michael were married in a small ceremony at the Greystone. Family and close friends filled the first-floor space, which had been transformed into a beautiful shared office during the week and a celebration space for this special day. Christine wore a simple white dress, carried peonies, and felt more beautiful than she'd ever felt in her life. Michael cried when he saw her walking toward him, and she cried too, both of them overwhelmed by the rightness of this moment. They said their vows in front of the fireplace, promising love and support and partnership for all the years to come. When Michael kissed her as his wife for the first time, Christine felt complete in a way she'd never experienced before. At the reception, her mother pulled her aside, tears streaming down her face. "Your daddy would be so happy, baby. So proud of you and the life you've built." "I know, Mama. I can feel it. This man loves you the right way. Supports your dreams, celebrates your success, stands beside you instead of in front of you. That's what your daddy and I had. That's what I wanted for you." Christine hugged her mother tight, both of them crying happy tears. Later, as she and Michael had their first dance in the studio that would soon be filled with her paintings, Christine thought about that night in the airport. How frustrated she'd been about the delay, how convinced that everything was going wrong. She'd had no idea she was exactly where she needed to be, meeting exactly who she needed to meet, at exactly the right moment. "What are you thinking about?" Michael asked, holding her close as they swayed to the music. Gate C, 47. 6-hour delays. The best worst night of my life. Michael smiled against her hair. "Want to know a secret? Always. I wasn't supposed to be on that flight. I was supposed to fly out the next morning. But my assistant booked the wrong day and I was too distracted to notice until I got to the airport. I almost rebooked to the next day anyway." He pulled back to look at her. "I'm so glad I didn't." "Me too. Best delay of my entire life." "Want to know another secret? There's more. I knew I was going to marry you that night in Cleveland. At the diner, when you said your father told you life was too short not to take chances. The way you looked when you said it, the courage in your voice, I just knew." Christine felt tears prick her eyes again. "I knew too. Maybe not that specifically, but I knew you were going to change my life. I knew I'd never be the same after meeting you." Best airport delay ever? Best airport delay ever. They kissed, surrounded by everyone they loved, in the home they'd built together, at the start of a life neither of them had planned but both of them had chosen. And somewhere, Christine was sure, her father was smiling. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more emotional and heart-touching stories that speak to the soul, and share your thoughts in the comments to tell us which story you want to hear next.